Okay.
Lagos is 7:30, and you know exactly what happens at this time. It's called Freshly Pressed, detailed analysis of the stories before us on our national dailies, and with us to with us to analyze the stories, Cheta checks down.
Just so excited about the news analysis this morning, Cheta. Good morning. Yes, that's what I'm going with. I don't care about everything else. Is it money for us? No.
Okay, so it's not important.
The World Cup just got happened.
Look at that.
You give us this ticket now for using Freshly Pressed to talk about your largesse.
Interesting.
Behave yourself, Cheta.
Moving on.
Find him on Twitter at Chickster.
Yeah, and Adedunmade, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Welcome. Good morning.
Devoe, how you doing?
Good morning, Lagos.
I was going to call you youth.
Escape from Olokpa season 2.
I see. Interesting. Yeah.
You know, I had an incident with them on Saturday.
Okay, we'll address the incidents in the papers because there's a lot of drama to go through just here
You can
without
find
anything else.
You can find Okay, so you can find everybody's excited. That's nice. You can find Devoe Okorie on Twitter at Devoe Okorie, and Folu and myself here will be taking the stories in time. Now, remember you can join us on YouTube. Just type in the search box Smooth 91 FM Lagos. You'll find us. We're streaming live here. Smooth 91 FM Lagos, on Twitter at Smooth 91 FM with the hashtag Freshly Pressed 91. We'll be tweeting the link to the YouTube channel there on Twitter.
Indeed. Now we're going to jump into our first set of stories.
Yes, the first one is coming from Vanguard. CCT begins trial of 18 politicians, 32 others in Bauchi. So the Code of Conduct Tribunal yesterday commenced sitting in Bauchi for the first time to try 55 defaulters that violated various provisions of the Code of Conduct Bureau and Tribunal Act. They said they include political appointees, 10 police officers, 4 NDLEA personnel, 1 customs officer, 22 career civil servants working with both local, state, and federal governments. Adedunmade.
Yeah, for me this is quite interesting, and I'll say why later on. But first of all, I'd like to start by saying that the Code of Conduct Bureau has a mandate to establish and maintain a high standard of public morality in the conduct of government business in Nigeria here, and they have powers over everybody from the president to even staffs of universities, and the penalties they can issue include a vacation of office or seizure of property, or even a ban of office, as the case may be. Now, this story in itself just mentions the people who are coming before the tribunal, but it doesn't state the reasons why they're coming before the tribunal. It doesn't state the breach that they have committed, and so it gives very little information on that. But what I'll generally say is that appeals from the Code of Conduct Tribunal lie to the Court of Appeal, and we've recently seen some of their decisions being removed. For instance, the most popular one which has happened recently is the one over Orubebe. He was convicted at the CCT, but the Court of Appeal quashed that conviction. And recently, of course, we know Saraki was also before the CCT as well. But what I would like to see is the CCT do more of these trials, because we all know that the Nigerian political system and even the government system is in shambles, in chaos, and is in, I just don't know the more words to use to qualify it. It's just not in the place that we want it to be. So I would have loved to see more of the CCT cases come up in different states. For instance, this one is happening in Bauchi, and this is the first time that the CCT will be sitting in Bauchi. And I think, why should that be? I think that every state should have a hearing for the CCT at least every 6 months, because that is how we'll get people up to shape. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens at the end of the trial. They said there are 4 days for the trial, and I really want to see what's going to happen, especially with regard to the policemen who are also before the CCT, the career civil servants who are before the CCT, and also the public officials who as they say, are political appointees. So let's see what happens in the next 4 days. But generally, they should do more of this, basically.
All right, thank you very much, Adedunmade. Next story, very quickly, is on the ThisDay newspaper. The headline: Pirates kidnap 12 crew on Dutch vessel off Nigeria. So the reports reaching us say that suspected pirates kidnapped 12 of 14 crew members on board a Dutch cargo vessel FWN Rapid near Port Harcourt in River State. Ships and ports reported citing the vessel owner Forest Wave Navigation BV. In this details, said this happened on April 21st. That's 4 days ago, as the vessel was getting close to Port Harcourt in Nigeria's oil-rich region. And this is on the pages of ThisDay. Cheta, if you look at this story, really, what are the implications? And there are no details, specific details as to what the vessel was carrying.
It was actually a Bloomberg ticker before ships and vessels, ships and ports reported it. So this is I don't remember the exact figure, but piracy has been on the increase in the Gulf of Guinea. According to Mansour Danali, the Minister of Defense, in a statement, was it last month, he said that piracy is reducing in Nigeria based on the available data for 2017. He claims that we had 55 attempted attacks last year in Nigerian waters, and 36 of them were sorry. He claimed that we had 16 attempts in 2017 and 4 of them were successful, which was a reduction from 55 attempts in 2016 and 36 successful ones. But the International Maritime Bureau and the International Chambers of Commerce in the joint report contradicted his assertions. Said that in the first half of 2017, there were 87 reported cases of piracy. They had this report that they published, and 41 people were kidnapped from their vessels. 3 were injured in those kidnapped attempts, and 2 sailors were killed. While in the second half of 2017, 63 people were taken taken hostage. In short, according to that report, again, International Maritime Bureau and International Chambers of Commerce, half of all reported the reported incidents of vessels being fired upon come from Nigeria's Gulf of Guinea coast. Now, it's the implications on trade. It's what it means is that the cost of insurance, risk premiums, and all of that will go up. It doesn't increase in piracy doesn't mean that people will stop coming to Nigeria. If there's something to trade, it's just that it will cost more. And when the cost is raised, of course, who ultimately bears that cost? It is us. And then we should remember that again, there's the soft costs, those hidden costs that we don't see in terms of dollars and cents, which is cost to perception. All of this only helps to further the reputation of Nigeria as a very unsafe place to do.
Well, we see these implications. But are there any steps that the security apparatus they're being put in place to make sure that these areas are safer, and then by inference reduce the costs of protecting the
according
line?
to certain reports, they're saying that the Nigerian Navy is looking, obviously, at cooperating with international partners. They are aware of the coast and the implications of it. So certain steps are being taken.
Supposedly or allegedly.
That is what is being put out officially by the Nigerian Navy.
Yeah, but you see, this is where
and we've also seen as well, let's not forget this year, sorry to cut you short, the introduction of partnering with Israel for defense contracts. And remember, that caused a bit of a stir in the general public, but that has been happening. They have been taking this up.
Yeah, but this is where the issue is. When one person is telling us, oh, these things are actually reducing, but international agencies are reporting otherwise, there's this gap. And my fear remains, it's a typically Nigerian attitude that we hate to look at the data in the face.
But also just a correction on the data as well. According to the International Maritime Bureau, the figures available for the first 3 months of 2018 says Nigeria.
I didn't say 2018.
I'm now saying 20. I'm now talking about 2018 specifically, just so that we're aware of what happened this year. Nigeria alone did record 22 incidents since the beginning of January, and of 11 vessels that were fired upon worldwide, 8 were off the coast of Nigeria.
Which basically corroborates what I said.
I'm just clarifying it. That's all.
Thank you very much, Folu and Cheta, for your very passionate analysis of this. Research, yes.
That's my role here.
The point is, I like to deal with H1, H2 figures for this particular one, because we actually have a client that asks us for this particular figure. So it's H1, H2 they always ask for, which is why I abandoned Q1 figures.
Okay, all right, awesome. Thank you so very much. Now, Vanguard is next. We have this headline before us. INEC denies KADSIECOM, that's the Kaduna State Independent Electoral Commission, for its use of its card readers for council polls. Now they are pushing to have this election held on for May 12th, local government elections in Kaduna State. The APC in that state are calling for the elections to be postponed. There seems to be a rift between INEC, the Kaduna State Independent Electoral Commission, and the APC as well. Devoe, what's the implication of all these?
Well, it's something that we need to be very mindful of. In this case, where the state body that's conducting the LGA elections in 23 local governments has come again a challenge, because they said they had sought for the use of the PVCs for about 2 years, and they were shocked to hear from INEC, that's the federal body, that they would not be given. Even in that case, they said they would go on and that they would use the electronic voting system. So I think they had planned for a full electronic system whereby, as you know, the PVCs are for voting. But now they will have to just use those names that May 14th, they should be postponed. As you do know, if you remember in the last election, in some polling booths, the PVC worked, and in some places
it didn't. Yeah.
Even the last president, JJ, for a while, it stalled to perform in his case. And even in my polling booth here in Lagos, I think it worked for some days and then broke down. And I think what was agreed among most people was just publish the register of those who came to vote on the polling booth. That may be what they will have to revert to. So in this case, you may not be able to guard against the underage voters or those who just came from nowhere to vote. But nevertheless, INEC has a big task on its hand. We would have thought that the objective before the May 19th national elections, the INEC would use the state government and the local government elections as a litmus test to check their preparation, to check their ability.
For 2019?
Yes, for 2019, to even check out some of the use of these instruments that they have purported are supposed to work in our favor. But kudos to the leadership, Dr. Saratu Binta Diko Aldu. Let's see how they're able to deliver these elections in the most secure and safe manner as possible.
All right. Keep your messages coming in. Check up our Twitter handle at Smooth981FM to see the links for the YouTube, both the YouTube and WhatsApp numbers. The next story is from New Telegraph. Police arrest Melaye on hospital bed after escape. The drama is really stretching itself. The police yesterday revealed in a report how a reinforced team of personnel rearrested Senator Dino Melaye on hospital bed in Abuja. See how I stress those two words? Reinforced and rearrested.
Police, jump.
You're guessing this. So it said
to do better this morning.
the senator was being driven to allegedly being driven to local Kogi State Capital when he jumped out of a moving vehicle.
What is it alleged now? It's happening.
I'm saying it's alleged according to what the report.
They wanted to parry.
So I'm saying he was being taken to the special anti-robbery squad, that's anti-robbery facility, which they said they had taken him to the first time. Yesterday we got a report that he was taken to his house.
True.
Exactly. So which one do we believe?
What has happened is he put himself before the police and they told him they were going to arraign him in court in Abuja. Now, he had no problems with that and was following them to court. But on the way, they just suddenly took a detour and headed towards Kogi. And that's when he said, look, this is not the way to court. I'm going to jump out of this. Very cool. So, and of course, we know that this thing stems from his allegations that his governor, that is Governor Yahya Bello, is actually behind these things. Yes. And this also sparks an issue or the debate on state police and how the governors will have control over state police. Because if it's true what he has said about the governor, then how can we normal Nigerians think to survive from the police? And also, it's actually quite interesting because the police said he tried to escape and that through investigative means they were able to learn where he was and they trailed him. But the truth is that they didn't need to trail him. Dino posts his whereabouts on social media all the time. Even when he got to Zankli, you know,
he took a selfie.
Yeah, he took a selfie and posted it. So they should stop acting like, no, they did some incredible work to find him. No, we all knew where he was at each time. Then also, why did they have to take like 150 policemen just to arrest one?
Maybe because they anticipated thugs and.
But this is the thing. We're also
supporters.
told, according to certain reports, for example, the Vanguard also tells us that there were two Hilux trucks that showed up with his goons, with people with him, and they were the ones that pulled him out
of the
police
vehicle.
vehicle, which is why I say they're contradicting
Well,
reports in
yes,
different
that is
papers.
contradicted because there's another one that says that it was hugging with them. It was about to jump out, and people were like, "Who is this guy that's trying to fight with the police?" And they realized it was Dino, and it was people on the road that actually said, "You know what? You guys have to leave this guy." And it's actually quite interesting. And I think
all of these
Mr.
contradictory
Cheta wants
reports,
to say something.
just talking. See, the man jumped, he landed on one leg, rolled, and then ended up, and they put drip inside and everything. That's a
All right.
as a stuntman in front.
So we follow this drama as it unfolds. We'll move on to the next.
I hope you like sugar popcorn.
It is an actual
mixed, actually.
drama.
Yeah.
We do have messages coming through, so I'm going to read out very quickly. This one is in from Gringus. Gringus, good morning to you. Thank you for sending in this message. He says it is an act of impunity, responsibility, and lawlessness that a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria would jump out of a moving police vehicle when arrested. Only a hardened criminal would have done that. What exactly is Dino Melaye afraid of that he's desperately and vehemently resisting arrest? With the incessant Fulani herdsmen attacks, the accusation that Melaye bought AK-47 rifles for some criminals to terrorize the public and some of his political opponents should be taken with the utmost seriousness and urgency that it deserves. We can't tell who really are behind these killings, all in the name of Fulani herdsmen. Thank you very much for that. Let's move away from that now and talk about Lagos declaring its IGR for the first quarter. According to the Guardian newspaper, Lagos declares 103.5 billion naira IGR in the first quarter. Devoe, while it sounds like very large numbers, and is very large numbers for a lot of people, according to this short, brief article, it tells us that we were slightly short, about 43% short for what the state had projected. You want to take us through this, please?
Kudos to Lagos. Other states should learn from this in terms of declaring their financial positions. Well, Lagos is stating that they got about 103 billion in the first quarter, which was short of their projections, based on the fact that they projected 60 billion every month to give them about 180. Now, this shortfall came to some extent due to the rebate that they gave in the land use charge. Kudos to democracy. But nevertheless, they said they would find other means to make up for it. Now, they also said that hopefully they would meet up in the course of time. Now, what are we to take from this? One, the State Assembly is giving accountability. Two,
Yes.
this is on the revenue side. Now, what we as citizens, as residents of Lagos State, yes, we need to hold these people accountable because this money has been made. About 80 billion came from the LIRS,
Yes.
all the tax people around chasing you, and you have paid. Now this, you see, they have now they're accounting for it in terms of what they've raised. Now you need to follow them up in terms of the expenditure. There is a budget, there is a plan, which Ambode did release to the public generally.
Yeah.
It goes beyond a few roads that they have built. There's a lot of infrastructure that the state government has promised. There are lots of programs, social welfare, that the same state government has promised. Follow up your state assembly representatives. I'm sure most people don't know them, but you need to call and find out. Follow up your local government chairman. Also, although this is not their own revenue, but they also have revenue that comes from the federal government as their own tier in the structure of this country to ensure that the little money that they have is used appropriately. The truth is, when I was in Ghana in January, I heard that tax was almost at 40%. And I said, wow, that's huge. Nigerians would have bust a bubble or
We
gaskets.
forbid,
Yes.
forgets.
But the thing is, in Ghana, if light goes off, the government is shaking. They're looking at ways to ensure if there's a pothole in the road, they're already shaking because the people will get angry. We need to show our leaders that we can also hold them to account.
Indeed. Lagosians, please do note that you can find out who the members representing you are, their constituencies. There is a website for it with all the latest happenings. Go to lagoshouseofassembly.gov.ng. It is up to date. I did check a couple of things there. Moving on next, we do have a sad story. Cheta protests in Benue as herdsmen killed 2 Catholic priests and 17 others inside a church. Harrowing story where we're told there were armed men that surrounded the church around 5:30 a.m. when worshippers had gone in for first mass of the day, and they were executed. It seemed as though they targeted specifically the priests. And this is also bearing in mind that there was a burial mass that was going on as well. I mean, really horrible stuff. But when we look at these details, these continuous attacks, we keep saying herdsmen, Cheta, but this feels very organized. And there's a lot of talk in the story as well about how organized the attacks are, how they're setting up targets. What is your take on this?
It's important to note that one of the late priests, and first and first, God rest his dead.
Amen.
One of the late priests, Reverend Father Joseph Gore, had made a Facebook post some weeks back talking about an impending attack, and nothing was done. This supposedly or allegedly under Operation Ayam Akapatuma. The army is supposed to be there keeping the peace, and I think at this point we can declare safely that Ayam Akapatuma.
However you want to say it, let's move on from that.
Failed.
Failed, absolutely.
Yeah. Very reported that soldiers have been quietly withdrawn, and if we keep after that initial flurry at the beginning of the year, and then the deployment of a lot of protests, reported that soldiers had quietly been withdrawn, and a lot of residents complained, and the army denied it. All of that, of course, the premium times were called names, the typical thing. Then on April 18th, Brigadier General John Agin, who is one of the spokesmen of the army, admitted that the army had scaled down operating people to take the law into their hands. Whether it has to be said, whether or not, this is the net effect. People will ultimately take the law into their hands in order to protect themselves. What kind of country are we building?
Thank you very much for that, Cheta. Very sobering and very serious things to think about at the moment. Again, we call on the government to please intercede. This is horrible stuff that keeps happening. Very quickly, we have some...
Yes, Ike sends in this message on WhatsApp, said, guys, don't tell me that you do not know that Dino's case is politically motivated. While I'm not his fan, the police is clearly playing out a script. This next one, Vincent says, hit the herdsmen in the pockets. Boycott meat today. Nah. Yomi from Festac says Lagos State government should also let us know how much they've spent and how much debt they've accumulated.
Contact your constituency rep. Again, go to that site, lagoshouseivassembly.gov.ng. They have their faces, their pictures, their numbers are up there. It's very exciting stuff.
Good luck getting
We've got more coming through. At least you put enough pressure. Eventually, you will look at the land use charge. From ThisDay newspaper, sex for Mark scandal. Monica Osagie appears before OAU panel. First of all, issues with her name being up there, but we will get into that in the analysis this morning. Adedunmade were told that the student who made the audio recording of a lecturer of the Obafemi Awolowo University is appearing before the investigative committee. This is Professor Richard Akindele demanded sex in exchange for marks. She said that she had reported the incident prior to obviously having to record his demanding 5 sessions, he said, from her to increase her marks. She says she never failed. They gave her 33%. But more interestingly, when we go into the story, we see that they tried to keep out her lawyers. They definitely kept out the journalists of this. Why would the university be doing this, and why would they put her name out in the pages of newspapers as well? What's your take on this story? And
exactly, that's the first question that I asked myself, because I believe that the school had a duty of care
absolutely
to her as a student to protect her identity. But they put a picture out, they put her name out there, and it might leave her vulnerable to attacks. Not even just from people out there, but also from other lecturers who might want to protect or avenge their colleague. Now, the second thing is, why did they try to deny a lawyer's entry? That just seems shady on the part of the school. That's the second thing. Now, the third thing is, she reported to the school. She reported to some lecturers and nothing was done. This just shows the general culture in universities in Nigeria for these young ladies who are in such a position, because when they report, nothing gets done. I remember when I was in the university, a female lecturer had to plan a sting operation with a female student who was being subjected to this kind of harassment before the lecturer could be brought to book in any way, and because she had to barge in to where they were together, you know, and that was planned with the girl.
Now, here's my question. Are there criminal ramifications also for the university who's involved and seems to be protecting people who are carrying out criminal activity?
This is a great question, because that was going to actually be the last part of what I was going to say. The Senate in 2016, if I'm correct, passed a law on sexual harassment in universities. Now there was a clamor, there was celebration, and people thought, oh yeah, now we are going to have some sort of
enforcement.
Yeah, but the truth is that it takes the two arms of the legislature to pass a law. So the Senate passed one now. The House of Rep has refused to pass its own till today.
So it's still hanging there.
It's still hanging at the House of Rep.
Shameful.
I remember Femi Gbajabiamila spoke on the issue and stated that why they were going to stem it down was because the law seems to be focused only on universities and not on the wider society, because there were other forms of harassment going on in work and also secondary schools. But that doesn't mean that the House of Reps should not have passed the law to today, because if they had passed the law, any lecturer found in that situation would have been able to face 5 years imprisonment, and the school will be held liable. Now, this is the major problem. The universities are not being held liable for these acts. That's why they are not taking charge in order to put a permanent stop to it. So if there's any student out there who is going through such, there is no law, but get a lawyer, sue your school, and make them pay you damages.
Sorry, I would love every slay mama or diva or female students to gather for a 5x5 rally to support this lady. Because the truth is, yes, but I'm just saying that we shouldn't let this case rise. This lady is being put out on her own. Today it's her, tomorrow it could be someone else.
Yesterday it was someone else.
Don't worry.
Again,
Monica will be fine now.
This is an issue with our National Assembly, who clearly do not take such violations seriously. They do not take the equality of all students seriously, and it is a problem. After all, were we not told that the Equal Opportunities Bill was not Nigerian?
Exactly. It was a foreign, it was borrowed.
Let's move on very quickly, though. We have no time. Police disperse Bring Back Our Girls campaigners with tear gas, according to the Premium Times. Now, this actually was a story that came in yesterday, and we're told that as they tried to gather in Abuja at Unity Fountain, they were dispersed with tear gas. There are videos of it up on Twitter, the Bring Back Our Girls handle. The Abuja Police Commissioner denied this happening, saying that, listen, there's just a ban on sit-outs at the fountain. What do you say, Cheta?
The police are not useful. 20th of April, 30 people were killed by gunmen in Zamfara. 21st of April, 10 people were killed in Benue. 22nd of April, 16 were killed in Kogi. 23rd of April, 4 in Borno. Yesterday, 18 in Benue. And yet, what the police can do is to spray tear gas at peaceful protesters. But the killings is besides the point. The police is disobeying the law. There's a subsistence Supreme Court judgment, ANPP versus IGP 2006, that Nigerians have a constitutional right to gather for protest without needing a police permit. This was reiterated in 2014 by the Court of Appeal when Joseph Mbu tried to stop the same Bring Back Our Girls from gathering at Unity Fountain to protest. So why is our own police disobeying the law? I don't get it.
Well, we're pretty much done. We only have time just to mention that from the Guardian newspaper that there was a rowdy session as the reps are pushing for Buhari's impeachment. This is obviously based on
the $1 billion
the
withdrawal
money
for the help for the aircrafts at about 151 billion naira, which was already spent, and to place for approval. So let's see whether the reps are able to fight for our behalf.
You think it's our behalf to have a president impeached just before the next elections, now?
These are dictatorial tendencies that must be
Big E from K2 quickly sends in this message on WhatsApp. Dino Melaye is the drama king, dramatizes every act. If you have any problem with the federal government, you should take it to court, and when he's true, you should apply it as a stuntman for... Okay, Marvel. We're not taking this. We have no time. Thank you so very much to analysts. Checkstar,
money done.
Hallelujah. I guess we're doing our job.
And we still